What's up, guys? Just wanted to make a quick video today, just to talk about kind of the air ride and kind of thoughts about my previous video. Had a little couple clips from on track from Autocross, from an event I went to a couple weeks ago. Car performed pretty well. I was actually getting similar times to like some basic modified Miatas, things like that, which for those of you that don't know a ton about autocross, Miatas and things like that kind of rule that portion of motorsports just because they're so nimble, and even though they're low horsepower, they're super nimble. Obviously you can put some more power into them, but even at, like, say, stock power levels, they're still super nimble and able to keep up with some cars that you'd be surprised about. Being that the all-road probably weighs, I would assume, probably almost twice as much. Probably has, twice as much power, but not nearly as nimble. I was pretty happy and surprised with how it did. I did have to work a lot. I don't have really a ton of driving experience, so I did have to work a lot to get there. I think my best lap was like a 47.6, and I think a friend of mine who I go to these events with has a Miata, real avid driver, goes to the track pretty often. I was pretty close to his time, so I was pretty impressed with myself. He didn't have his nice tires on and stuff like that, so I'll give that stuff to him. But I really didn't do any adjustments to the air ride. I didn't adjust any dampening. Just pretty much went out there at my ride height that I normally drive at. And that was pretty much it. So some of the things that I've been thinking about in my mind, I know there's some people that have done like racing with their cars on air ride. Cody Miles is an airlift performance driver, or sponsored driver. This Time Attack Subaru STI. So just kind of thoughts in my head was basically you could adjust the coilover portion of the bag, at least in the front, to where it was at a higher pressure, to give you kind of like a stiffer, more sportier ride, like from a spring rate perspective. In the rear, it's not really possible since you're only adjusting the shock. You're not actually adjusting the bag. The bag is mounted on brackets, so you can't adjust like the height limits of it or anything like that. Sorry, Bruiser's wrestling with me with the frisbee right now. He won't go play by himself or with Billy. So that was my thought from like a spring rate perspective, that I could basically like shorten it up. That way you have to put more pressure in the bag to get it to the same height that it would normally ride at. It would offer basically like a stiffer ride or a stiffer spring rate. Obviously we can adjust the dampening as well. I didn't touch that yet. I kind of wanted to leave that for next time. Go out with it maybe super stiff, and then go from there. I might honestly just try that and not adjust the actual strut height, just for fun. Like, this is all for fun, but it is interesting to be out there on air ride because people think it's kind of funny. I had a couple people who were maybe a little bit more serious about autocross and things like that. They were kind of like making snarky jokes at me, which I thought was pretty funny because they're in cars with like coilovers and suspension, all that stuff, like real race car stuff, and I wasn't super far off of their times. And on top of it, it was my first autocross event ever, so kind of funny. I definitely wasn't going to say anything. I kind of let the car do the talking. But so obviously, like I said, you can adjust the front coilovers or the coilover bag to a shorter strut. That way you have to increase the air pressure to get to the same height, which would offer increased spring rate, at least in the front. It did tend to dive a little bit in the front since the car is front wheel drive biased. That might be a good thing. So that's one thing we could do. What I think we're going to do for this next event coming up on July 3rd, I think I'm just going to be ready to adjust dampening and kind of go from there. I might just start with it stiff, and if I need to lighten it up, I'll see what that's like. And then really the only other big thing you could really do on this car, really to just get the car on, you know, a new set of sway bars. I know like 034 Motorsports makes some front and rear. The stock ones are honestly kind of puny. I was really surprised. I was under the car the other day looking again, and they are really tiny, especially in the rear. So if there's any sort of push in the car, with the car being front wheel drive biased, that's definitely not helping. But if I stiffen the car up overall, see how it is, and I can go from there and kind of adjust. That's kind of my game plan. From there you can get adjustable upper control arms for the car, so you can throw some more camber in the car maybe. But I'm not going to start messing with that stuff because I drive the car every day. I'm not going to, make the car, set the car up to a point where, it's ideal for driving the 10 minutes that I do every month in an autocross event, as opposed to driving to work or on a road trip or going to the store. I'm not going to do that to this car. It's not what it's meant for. When I get the Subaru done, that car is going to be specifically for the track, and if I drive it to work, that'll be fun, and I'll just deal with it being like a race car. But otherwise, just kind of wanted to make a quick video about that, kind of my thoughts around the idea of using air ride on the track. I think it is definitely probably even less noticeable on a big track like Waterford Hills, which is up by me. But for now, Autocross is a real cheap, easy way to get into it. A helmet and a head sock, and you clean your car out good, fresh oil, and don't even really need to worry about brakes because there's not a ton of braking zones. You're only running for a minute at a time before a cool down anyway, so you're not getting anything hot enough to where you have to worry about it. So but we'll chat more about it. Like I said, the Autocross event that I'm going to is on July 3rd. So until then, I'll kind of leave it at that as far as the air ride goes. And yeah, hope you guys are liking these videos. I'll go ahead and probably touch on a few other parts of the car that I've tinkered with in the next few, maybe some Subaru updates. But for now, appreciate you watching and taking the time to see what I got going on. We'll talk to you later. Thanks.